My husband and I had been trying to have a family of our own for about 10 years, and we'd started thinking about foster care. We'd seen, sometimes things get in your head and you see things over and over again, and we kept seeing the billboards for foster care and kept, kind of thinking about it, kind of talking about it just kind of loosely. And then one day out of the blue, my dad actually called me and said that his cousin had contacted him and that there was a baby in the family that needed a home. And they were wondering if we were interested in providing a home for that baby. And so, we of course said that we were, and turned out that the baby was in state custody. And so we began the process for getting our license and becoming foster parents. And as we went through the training, we were just really impressed with the whole program and the way it worked, and just knew that we wanted to, be a part of that going forward and build our family through foster care. I started just thinking more and more about all these teenagers, because I kept hearing all the time that there are so many teens that need homes, and I kept thinking about it, and finally one day I said to my husband, I said, well, how do you feel about taking teenagers? And he goes, I've been thinking the same thing. And so we had both been independently thinking about it, and so we knew that that's what we needed to do. So we expanded and said we would take 0 to 18, and so that's how we did that. I've always been, I think, a little bit intimidated by teenagers, the idea of teenagers. I think I was a tough teen, and so I have a tendency to think that all teens are going to be kind of tough. And I don't know, I was worried that he was going to have issues that I wouldn't be able to deal with, or that, I wouldn't be able to discipline him correctly, or, do those kinds of things I would need to do with a teenager. But when we met him the first time, the caseworker brought him to our home and asked us to let him audition us, basically, to see if he wanted to stay in our family. And just when he walked in the door, there was such a sweetness about him and such a humbleness almost. He was very kind of quiet, and he seemed almost scared and but excited. And, it was just, I don't know, it was just sweet to sit there with him. And within about 30 seconds, we'd all decided that this was a placement that could be forever. I think I've learned that things that you think you can't do, you can do. And, I've learned a lot about my community in that there are wonderful people always surrounding you that are right there to help you, that you can lean on for support. And we already knew our family was wonderful and supportive, and, they're even more so through this. It was a little worrisome. We're willing to take this teenager into our home, but what about our families? We're kind of forcing this situation on them without really giving them a say in it. And they've embraced our kids just like they were our biological children, and they love them, and, take care of them and do things with them. And it's just been a really wonderful experience. And, I think too, we've learned that there's so much richness that can be added to our lives by bringing these kids in with these different backgrounds, that rather than a hindrance, some of these experiences they have had have just built this beautiful tapestry in our family. They just add all their stories to our story, and, we have one big, beautiful family story from that. I think there's a big stigma with foster care. I think a lot of people think that kids in foster care are damaged. Or even, it used to bother me that my children were called in the school records as child in custody, which makes it sound like they're criminals, like they've done something wrong. And these kids have not done anything wrong. These kids are victims of bad situations. And, one thing I've learned is that, yeah, they may have what we want to call baggage, or, history or whatever, but it makes them stronger people. The kids that I've come in contact with are strong and resilient and leaders, and they're really good, solid kids. And I think that their histories, as hard and as terrible as they've been, have made them into these wonderful adolescents. They're really, and yeah, of course they have problems, but they have no more problems than any other teenage child has, or any other, young child has. They're the same problems that all kids have, but they're just really wonderful kids. Why should you become a Utah foster parent? Because you can.